bad. Okay, sorry. So the last two sessions, so Sunday and Tuesday, we looked at people's resumes, got some good ideas as to how to change our own resumes. We looked at LinkedIn. Did we look at their LinkedIn profiles?
A little bit.
A little bit. We talked about portfolios, but since that's the actual Code Zero event, we didn't really touch a whole lot on that. We did talk about the GitHub portfolio or profiles a little bit. In terms of ways to make sure that we are interview ready. So, today I'm going to start off with asking what other things you guys feel that you should have to be interview ready. Whether it's an in-person or video interview, what are some things you feel you should make sure you have before you go into that interview?
Well, we talked about like having a good background if it's on the computer, like dressing for success, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure you have your resume. If it's in person, print one out so you can give to them as well.
Okay. What if it's online? Should you have your resume pulled up?
Probably.
What about any projects you've done? Should you maybe have any of those pulled up?
That sounds good too.
Okay.
That way you can share it with them and show them your expertises.
Okay. What about questions? They're going to ask you questions. Are you allowed to ask questions?
Definitely.
So,
That's the hard part for me.
so
Talking
one
to
thing
people about that.
I was always told is an interview is two ways. You're interviewing for a position, but like if like so I'm getting ready to start my own business. Chris, if I'm interviewing you to work for me, you're also interviewing me to hire you. Because if you don't like the answers I provide, you don't have to accept a job opportunity or job offer. So an interview is both ways. It's not the person who's looking for the job is just getting interviewed. The person supplying the job is also being interviewed. So that's something to think about. Like, what are things that you would want to know about said company? So, like, for example, Chris, one of my businesses is BDev Services, the web development side. So if I'm hiring you as a web developer, what are some questions you might want to ask me? Other than pay,
Well,
because that's like the obvious one, other than pay and benefits, what are
uh,
some other type of questions you want to know about my business?
most of the questions I would have probably not thought to ask you, but should have. Like I've already seen you kind of answer them. Like you've shown me that you can host all of these things, and that you're experienced in using hosting platforms for various types of programming languages and frameworks and stuff. And you're
Okay,
really
but you
good.
don't know me. You
Oh, well,
you you've
that's what
heard
I would
about
ask
it.
you about, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay. What about, would you ask anything about the work environment itself?
I've heard that's a good question to ask. Like, what is the day to day? What would my daily tasks be?
Excellent. Um, some other good questions could be, will I be working in a team or by myself? Is there any job shadowing? For like like if you're interviewing for like a junior dev, will I be able to shadow a senior dev? Or if you're interviewing for a senior dev, will I have junior devs shadowing me? are some other potential questions. Obviously, the pay and benefits are definitely questions you want to ask, but I honestly wouldn't ask them the first interview. Wait until you get like to round 2 before you start asking some of that, unless, because most of it's in the job description anyways. But I'm thinking more along the lines of like what's not in the job description that you might want to make sure you have prepared. If it's a face-to-face interview, is it okay to come in with a notebook with questions?
Probably a good thing to do that, right?
I try to provide or prepare certain questions about the company that I already don't know. Like if I'm not positive about the pay or the benefits or the hours, I'm going to write that stuff down ahead of time and I'm going to go into the interview face-to-face or online with a notebook with those questions. If they answer them in the process, I'm just going to write it down. That's a question I don't have to ask now. And I personally, if I'm doing the interviewing and you're writing stuff down, I find that as something that you had a question about it, but I've answered it for you, which means you came prepared, you thought about it. And it's something you wanted to make sure you knew so that when the offer comes, you have a better informed decision. Does anybody else have any ideas of things they could do to help them prepare for an interview or what they should go into an interview with?
I mean, if I'm getting an interview and I'm actually getting to talk to someone, I'm probably going to have looked everything up about that company and tried to figure all of the things out, like my day to day. If I'm going to be in a big application or if it's going to be a bunch of applications or projects. Um, just that way I know I'm going to be able to meet my expectations as
Where would you go to look that stuff up?
their website.
Is that it?
Probably. I mean, scouring like Indeed and LinkedIn profiles too, like all their different social medias and stuff, just to see if they're all kind of similar. Because if they all have like different missions, like that would probably not be a good sign.
That's actually a really good idea of actually going to like their different social medias to see if there's continuity. What about Facebook?
Definitely. I mean, all of them. There's so many now, you got to check all of them.
Yeah.
And you have to have all of them.
Yeah. Now between Christopher's background and mine, which one is better?
I mean, yours.
Actually, yours is.
What?
Mine's busy. Yours is not.
Oh, I do have a lot of time.
No, I'm just saying my background. No, I'm talking about, I meant Zoom. I'm sorry. I meant Zoom background. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I guess I should have clarified that.
Yeah, I was thinking like professional experience area. I'm like, no, but thanks.
No, sorry. I meant in terms of Zoom background between yours and mine, which one is the better background for an interview?
Mine feels very moody because of this shadow.
But there's less going on.
Yeah.
You definitely have nothing going on. There's just shadows, but it's obvious they're shadows. Mine, I have words. I have a duck. Yes, the duck and the words match. Wait, hold on. Duck and words. There we go. Duck and words match. But it's busy. So they're gonna be like, what's with the duck? The like real duck in the background. They're gonna ask questions. And a question like that has nothing to do with the interview. The words maybe, but the actual the actual duck has nothing to do with an interview for a programming or anything, right? I mean, I guess it kind of does because they match, but still. What about for example, how the two of us are dressed.
I'm not ready for an interview by any means in my shirt and
But
pajamas. I mean, I could do like an AI. I've
no,
seen people
AI
do
is bad. AI is bad.
I've seen people do like their faces on a picture that they had so they stay real still.
If we were to go by just the way the two of us are dressed, yours would be better. I have a sweatshirt on. That's not good. Like if I were to just like if I were to take off this, it's just a collared shirt, that's okay. But I have a sweatshirt on. That kind of down dresses the collared shirt quite a bit. I just didn't feel like changing after work today, so I'm like, screw this. And I hate red too, by the way. I hate it with a passion. Um, okay, so what are some other questions you guys might think of asking the interviewer?
Do they like working there?
Ooh, that's a good one. What if they said no? Or what
What
if they
don't they like
said,
about it?
okay, good. Okay. Um,
I need to take an interview now.
that's actually next week. Starting on Sunday, we're actually going to do mini mock interviews.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yep. My thought process was I was going to interview those who showed up to work for BDev services type of thing. Like pretend that you guys want to come work for me and interview you and see how y'all felt type of thing. That was part of my thought process anyways. Until I can get somebody else, other people in here to do mock interviews, I'm just going to use my own business as it. Might as well, right? It's there. What other questions? Anybody else have any other ideas besides Chris? And you can type it in the chat if you'd rather. Silence. That's okay. Oh, I see a face. Hey,
Sorry,
Fernand.
that was me. I had a question.
Sure.
So like one thing I feel like that's common in interviews, especially like when I do them, is like you're preparing for like questions, right? And you get a question that you did not expect to get, and it's kind of like completely like out of left field, and you're kind of like stumped. What do you recommend like when you get like caught with those type of questions? Like, what are some things to like kind of prepare for those type of questions?
Can you give me an example of one?
Um, yeah, let me try to think of one. So say you're given a specific question about like I don't know Python, and you're asked about a question like a Python library that you have like don't have any current experience with, and it's like important to the job, and they ask you that like how do you deal with that type of question?
Honestly, is how I would approach it. So, have any of you done uploads with Python? Uploaded anything like, or with like specifically with like with Django? You ever used Django or and done an upload with it?
I've done it with Flask, not with
Okay.
Django.
Okay. What package did you install for Flask?
Uh,
Because I can't remember which one it is with Flask. I know which one it is with Django, but I can't remember which one it is with Flask. I know with
with
Django it's Pillow. Why?
I forgot
Pillow? I don't know.
forgot the name. Uh, I'm not too sure.
Okay. So that was just the first question when you said Python. That was the first thing that came to my mind. So if I said, how would you create the form, or what's different about a form that has a file upload in it? Do any of you know? Okay, if I said, okay, Chris, we deal with a lot of uploads, but we found that people don't always know how to do them in Python. How would you find out the form is different for a file upload? What would you answer to that?
I mean, I don't know how to do it currently, so I would have to look it up just on my resources, like check W3, um, the documentations, and those things.
Okay. And that was what my question was, is how would you find that answer? So you would go to like W3 schools, and what type of documentation would you go to?
I mean, they've got something like under the Python course for the input fields, I imagine.
Yeah, documentation is a huge answer. But if you say, I would use my resources such as the Python documentation, the Flask documentation, Django documentation, using that word documentation alone, or like with the language, will be huge. Yep. Also saying that you're going to use your resources. Would it be okay to answer that you're going to use your resources, including reaching out to colleagues?
I mean, I wouldn't want to say that in an interview, but
Why not?
there's a lot. I mean, I want them to think I know everything, right?
No, but you already told them you don't know how to do a file upload, right? Is there anything wrong in saying that you would reach out to your colleagues to help find the answer?
I mean, if I've already secured the job, no. But if I haven't secured it, I would be nervous.
Okay. Now turn this around and think about it this way. You're working for them, you have a problem, but all you do is go to the documentation. Is that good?
If
Or
it
is that
works,
bad? But what if your neighbor next to you already knows the answer? You could save yourself 20 minutes of research by asking a neighbor, saving the company time.
true.
So your colleagues, fellow alumni, other developers, everybody here in this room are part of your tool set of resources. Admitting you don't know the answer, but willing to ask for help is sometimes also huge. If you think about it, because you're willing to ask for help, meaning you're not just gonna spin your wheels, waste time trying to find the answer on your own. As long as it's part of your answer, like you'll look at the documentation, go to colleagues. Like if you have all those things listed, I think that's a very acceptable answer, in my opinion. I would like it if, coming from a hiring standpoint, if you're going to tell me that you're going to use all of your resources that include W3 schools, language documentation, colleagues, alumni that you're aware of, your network, I'm going to be like, okay, he knows what his toolbox is. And he knows how, and he's not afraid to dig into the toolbox. I hate the questions of, you were faced with a situation, what would you do? I hate those questions. I hate them with passion. Like, explain a time you were you had a bug in your code and you had to solve it, but you only had an hour to do it. Or I don't know, it was a live production thing or something like that. I hate questions like that. But we have to be prepared for those. So what types of answers? Yeah, I hate them. What types of answers would you guys give for those? You found a bug on a live site. And since it's a live site, that means you're very limited on the time you have to fix it. What are some of the things you might think of to solve the bug? And what's the, in my opinion at least, what's probably the biggest no-no? Ooh, I like that. Log. Okay. Like console, like add console logs just to test it? Or just look at the logs? Or both? Would any of you take the site down?
Hmm.
It is a good question.
I mean, I would hope like the person that was working on the site before, like that before they gave you the site with the bug, at least has some comments. So like up to that point, you can find like where where was the point with the bug occur, and you can try tackling the issue from there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, logging using like console log or looking at the logs in general, or like trying to like see where's the logical error or maybe syntax error in the site, but probably trying to go through that particular point line by line if you know the code isn't too like huge.
Yeah, definitely system server logs. I definitely like that answer. Yep. Me personally, I would do everything I could to not take the site down, especially if it's a live site. You just impacted the entire company if you take it down, potentially. And depending on what the company is, that could be huge. But what should I say should because you never know what every company has. What should most companies already have? What's one thing like with it with CodeZero specifically that I stress with Git?
Version controls.
Not just the version controls, but
Like the
yep,
different
monitoring, yep.
branches.
Huh?
Like the different branches.
Yeah, the branches. So there should be a main branch, which is the live site that's currently broken, and then a dev branch, which should typically be either further ahead of or equal to the main branch. But who's to say you don't make a branch off the main branch and try to fix it that way and then just push that up? That's why I stress GitHub so much. Or at least version control anyways. Monitoring is definitely a good one. I do like that. Yep. What ways can we use to solve the code? Solve the bug?
I mean, I'm thinking about what I would shut down a site for. Like maybe if it was something related to passwords or credit card information, like I would probably want to take that down.
Okay,
Th
that's
then I
good.
was thinking like Target got all of that stuff hacked on their server. I don't think they took their site down.
Maybe not the whole site, but there are ways to take down portions of the site.
True.
Right. So think of most of us, if not all of us, have probably worked within Flask or at least Python. If we're looking at our controller files, who's to say we don't just unconnect a controller file? If the controller files are done correctly, you can disconnect like the user controller, so that takes care of all the password stuff. But the main pages that don't require a login are still good. Or at least they have the, if the user is not in session, display this, otherwise display this. So at least there's still some sort of backup potentially. So they just can't, clients just can't log into the site. And I just spilled my Mountain Dew all over me. Not that you can tell because it's a red shirt and it's red juice, but that's okay. Although that's another question. Should you be eating or drinking anything during an interview?
I'm gonna have to be drinking something. My mouth gets dry when I'm nervous.
Definitely know to which one, eating or drinking, or both.
Eating.
Eating for sure, yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. At least
a
the
bit distracting.
yeah. Should you be drinking something red or maybe like water?
I should probably really hydrate before a real interview.
Probably, but at the same time, don't hydrate too much because then you might have to go to the bathroom during the interview.
Oh
It could
no,
be just as bad.
bigger problem.
Um, I almost always have a glass of water. As much as I hate water, I almost always have a glass of water with me during any interviews, live or otherwise. I have some sort of water. Oh, see, now you're just not. Now you're just playing not fair. I mean, alcoholic. I
How
can
would
be
they know?
that. um, if I have a bottle of water with me when I walk into an interview, if they have a problem with it, it's I use it as a way to keep my hands occupied as well because I fidget a lot. So I'll hold the water bottle so I can fidget like with the label a little bit, like with my thumbs. So they don't see it, it's just there, and I'll just take slow sips just as a way of just giving myself an extra second when they ask a question. I'll take a sip to give myself that extra second to just process their question and then answer it. So sometimes it can actually be helpful in an interview. Most of the time, drinking water is acceptable. Um, definitely not eating, definitely not smoking. No vaping, smoking, none of that, especially in a Zoom room. Because if you're gonna do that live, I mean, that's just if you're in like a live interview, you shouldn't be doing that anyways, because you can't do that in public buildings, as far as I'm aware of. In terms of Zoom meetings, should you be dressed from head to toe or just from waist to head?
I've done both, so I don't know.
Personal opinion is head to toe, fancy shoes and all. Because if you're dressed for success, you'll feel successful. But if you're only dressed from like the waist up, all nice and pretty, but you're in like pajama pants and slippers from the waist down, you're going to feel a little too comfortable. And you may not answer as professionally as you might if you were dressed uncomfortably, so to speak. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm not wearing high heels because I would just trip and fall regardless. I mean, even from my chair, I'd probably trip and fall. But I would definitely wear shoes. And definitely no nakedness from the waist down because it guaranteed the minute you do, you're gonna stand up on camera. I guarantee it. Murphy's Law will come into play. Or the camera's
Be a
gonna
weird
fall,
interview.
something's gonna happen. So here's a silly question. Chris, I'm interviewing you for a job and I show up like this in a sweatshirt and a t-shirt. What's your opinion
This
of
is a
me
cool
as the
job.
interviewer? It's a cool job. Okay. I hadn't thought about it that way. But does that look professional on my end?
Eh, I'm more looking at if oh, so that's probably not good. I don't know if you can hear my dogs in the background there. Got to figure that one out for an interview, but
Actually, I
no.
didn't, so you're okay.
Oh, sweet. Sweet. That's good news because that was pretty loud.
Oh,
Um
let me phrase it. I didn't notice it until you said something.
okay, cool. But no, clothes wise for my interviewer, I'd as long as it seems to be going well, I don't really care what they would be dressed in. Unless it's like in person and it's like a high-rise building, then I'm kind of expecting a little, bouginess.
Okay. So what if it was a Zoom meeting and I showed up like this? Would you ask me anything about my dress code?
Well, mm, probably not. I
No?
would just think that maybe the dress code isn't as formal as maybe I thought it was.
Could you ask though? Or would you feel uncomfortable doing that?
I would feel super uncomfortable.
What if you phrased it of what is the day-to-day dress code during like any staff meetings or stuff like that?
My facial expressions kind of give away what I'm thinking most of the
Okay.
time, though. So I, so I'd probably be looking at their outfit while I said it, and that's not good, you know.
Good point. Fair point. Fair point. Um, so we already said we would probably have like if we're gonna assume most of these are probably gonna be Zoom anyways, because a lot of the first ones lately that I've known have been. So we already said have our resume and maybe a project already pulled up, ready to share our screen and show it off, or at least give them the link to it. Maybe GitHub as well might be a good one to have pulled up. What if do I have mine pulled up? It's a mighty fine question, Melissa. I'm sure I do. I do. Look at that. Let's go here. All right. So if I have my GitHub pulled up like this, and I'm scrolling through it, and they asked me to scroll through it, and right now I have this one repository that is pinned that's a public archive. I actually had to explain why that was still a pinned repository. If it's public archive, that means I'm not working on it anymore. Why is it still a pinned repository? What could be a potential reason why it might be a pinned repository, even if I'm not actively working on it?
Just to show off the code.
Okay.
I mean, pinned ones are just easy access, right?
Ooh, for future references. Okay. Pinned ones are usually the ones you're most proud of. So they're the ones you want people to look at. That's why they're pinned there, because you can have up to 6 of them. So you want the ones that you're most proud of or that you want somebody to look at. Like right now, if I were to be perfectly honest with you, the last 2 pins are the only ones I might want people to look at. Well, okay, maybe the first one because it's my portfolio. Although I think that's the bad one. But that's besides the point. Other than that, I honestly don't want anybody to look at the other ones because they're old and they should technically all be public archived because I'm not working on them, I'm not updating them, and they're old. But this one is one I am particularly proud of, and it has a live link. And when I go to it, it is something I'm particularly proud of. I worked very hard on this, and I think it's cool. It was not easy. The CSS to that was not fun. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. So that's one I am particularly proud of. The other one, which was this one, I think also has a link still. Yep. I'm also particularly proud of. I still need to fix this one. I can do this, but I can't actually run it. But I can run one of these. Oh, wait, it might be helpful if I actually random pattern it. I can actually run it, so it does work. But it's still under construction because I still need to get that last piece, and apparently it's stuck. There we go. So those I'm fine having there. Which one? The Game of Life or the scrolling one? The Game of Life? It's CSS and JavaScript. My problem with the grid one, the last one, is the rules are different. So if you actually look up Conway's Game of Life, these are the actual rules that living cells that have 2 or 3 neighbors stay alive, or like in this case yellow, in the next generation. Living cells with less than 2 neighbors die because of underpopulation. More than 3 die because of overpopulation. And cells that are not alive but have 3 living neighbors are brought to life, or brought to life due to reproduction. But that works for with their 4 sides. Of course. I can't figure out the hex one because there's more than 1 side, there's more than 4 sides. So the rules on that one are different and I can't figure it out. Like I was able to get the grid to change, but that's all I could get to change. Like these buttons don't do anything yet. I can't figure out how, like, does this stay alive or does this die? Brain not working. But at least I got this part. I was proud of that. That's why I left it there. Yeah, no problem. This one was fun too. Because it was different colors. And then I think this one was just a bigger one, right? Yeah.
I have a quick question when it comes to these type of projects, right?
Yeah.
So usually, you see a lot of suggestions online for projects you can make. Do employers really put an emphasis when looking through your like GitHub on like originality, or does that not tend to matter as much?
Depends on the job. So if you've heard of the Game of Life, for example, or just reading the rules, you can assume that there's a lot of logic in the Game of Life. So if X condition exists, then this can happen. Otherwise, this can happen, or this can happen. There's a lot of logic in that. So a project like this one, for example, if they're successful at building it, as an employer, I would see that as a good thing, even though it's something that's seen a lot, or like it's a project that's been done before. If you can do it, then you understand the logic behind it. Because like this had a lot of logic, like a crazy amount of logic. I think I have it. Yeah, this was just my logic text. This was just, I had to figure out how to do this. And I couldn't do it. I still have yet to figure out the hexagon one. So some projects that you're just like doing a tutorial of, I think are great because you're learning something. There's the logic that's behind it. And if you can explain the project, that's even better. Where if you go by originality, the employer may not know what went into it as much as like something that's more popular, like the Game of Life, or for example, this one. It's just a simple scrolling thing, but all it is just CSS that's doing this. But getting this done, I mean, in all reality, can you guys think of how you would do it? Without logic or CSS, can you do it right now? Honestly, I couldn't. I don't remember how I did it without looking at my repository. So I'm like, I don't remember. I know that this was a text file that's reading the text, or maybe it was a JavaScript thing. I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember, but I know it was a lot of CSS that did the scrolling, but I can see that work went into it. And because it's a scrolling thing, it looks kind of like the Star Wars, and I called it May the 4th, but yet the words are not Star Wars at all. So therefore, there was more thought that went into it. I took a project that was Star Wars scroller and I made it mine. So there's ways to even make those projects into your own uniqueness, like I did here. That adds that originality for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. One site I absolutely love, besides CodePen, of course. And I knew I'd spell it wrong. There it is, the coding train. That's actually where I found the May the 4th scrolling thing. There is a whole bunch of, if I could find the challenges on here. There's currently 180 different challenges on here. And when you finish one, you can actually get yours published onto their site. So these people did this challenge and had it uploaded. My May the 4th is on this site. And you can see their code. Sometimes you can see it live and it running. I didn't mean to close anything. Oh, there it is. But they also have a video explaining how it's done. I'm trying to see if I can find one that's live. Oh, I think these are live. I just have to hit play, don't I? Yep, there we go. Maybe. Oh, cool. So you get to play with it. But you can see their code and how they did it. I don't understand P5 at all, I'll be honest. I think it's JavaScript. I just don't understand the site itself. Where
It's kind
is...
of like the W3. How
I
they
think
have, like,
so.
the-
Yeah.
And you said these are like challenges you can do?
Absolutely. Yep. And you can submit to the showcase. You can submit them all. If I were to go into your, I wish I could remember where it was. That one's 180 challenges. Can you search the challenges? I can never remember. Pick a language. Yeah, you can search by languages. So like, here's all the JavaScript ones. And there's some crazy weird ones in here. But this is where I found the May the 4th one. They actually called it May the 4th, I think. I think it was like, did I pass it already? No, I didn't. Or did I? I probably did, and I didn't even realize it. But they have some really good challenges on here, and it's definitely something I would look into. If you can complete all of them, that's just amazing, but I can't.
And this is just purely like all HTML, CSS, and JavaScript?
Yeah, they're all, none of them have a back end or anything like that, but they're all very logic heavy. Most of them are. Some of them I think are just flat out really cool. Is there a way to search this site? I'm sure there is. I'm sure I'm just not seeing it. Filter by language, by topic. Ooh, topic. Oh, wow. Good Lord. Yeah, I'm never going to find it in that. I want to say it's like 100 or something like that. It's around the hundreds, the May the 4th one. Bouncing DVD. I did this with my class one time. With one of my classes, we did the bouncing DVD. Was that you guys? No, you weren't in my class, Chris. I was thinking, for some reason, I thought you were all of a sudden.
I just remember always wanting it to hit the corner, and it never hits the corner.
Oh, we hit the corner every time. There it is, May the 4th. Yep, May the 4th scrolling text. And if you look in here, there's mine. All I had to do was submit it to it. I did mine in React. Completely different from everybody else's, which was in P5. I did mine completely different. Because I could.
By any chance, can you put a link to the website in the chat so we can see it after the meeting's over?
Which one? The coding train?
The one with the 100, I think it was like 180 problems that you could do like HTML, CSS, JavaScript.
We'll go back to the challenges.
That was really cool.
It is. I think it's really cool. I love that they actually allow you to submit your own submissions. That I think is really awesome. Oh, wow. This one is just this year. I didn't even realize that. That one was just this year. Oh, wow. They went from April 23 to January of 24. Yeah, so like things like that are definitely good. There's the one on CodePen that I've oh yeah, somebody found this one yesterday. I thought this was cool. Just add this and it just adds more bees. I was like, this is cool. Build a bee. I don't know who, I don't remember who did it, but I thought it was awesome. 100 Days of Code is another one that I highly recommend getting involved in. He recommends, and there's actually, it's 100daysofcode.com, I think is what the main website is called. Yep. All he says is code a minimum of an hour every day for 100 days. And he has different things. He has he came up with 100 different projects. The last project was a project that showcased all 99 projects that he had done before that. So like it was just like you click each project and get to that page. And he has it on CodePen, has all of them on there. So that's another one I recommend doing as well. Even if you're just coding for an hour, build something simple. And he's got some really cool ones in his 100 days. Not colors, Melissa. See if I can find it. It should be in my pinned items or following or something like that. I know I forked it at one point. Although CodePen is, I'm just warning you now, CodePen is a rabbit hole. I get so lost in CodePen. But you can always find, like, search just 100 days of code as well, and then just find out, like, this guy did an image slider on day 52. Ooh, that's cool. That's trippy, but I like it. He's using Sass, but other than that, it's just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Oh, he's using Canvas. That's why he's using Sass. But trying to recreate these is so much fun. Of course, then you've also got my, was it Vercel that I have it in? I think it's Vercel that I have it in. Get started. Cancel. Where's my, nope, it's not on here. God, glad it's not on here. It must be the other one, Netlify. Where I have my most hated repository. Yep, this one right here. This is my most hated repository ever. I hate this one. But I still show it off. I still keep it live because it sucks. I tried so hard. I failed miserably. If you guys have never seen my Git lectures, it actually comes from, I meant to go to GitHub, sorry. It comes from this. So this is the repository. And this is what she makes out of HTML and CSS, and that's it. The mountain was my version, my attempt, my crappy mountain. I still find this absolutely fascinating. So even something like that as well is something I would definitely show off. If you can do this though, I'm totally hiring you for CSS. Did you ever see, Chris, did I ever show you some of her other pictures?
No, I've just seen that one. Ooh.
These are some of the other ones that she's done. I'm just like, oh my God. I've got what Fernando, what was your main question? I forget now.
My main question?
Yeah, what was it about the projects?
Um,
Oh, uniqueness
oh
versus
yeah,
challenges.
yeah. So I think it was before you already answered it. It was just before, like, I was just asking, does originality matter more, um, or like, kind of following other project tutorials and trying to get into down? Yeah, you answered it.
I think complexity is more important than anything, but yet not necessarily complexity. Because like my mountain versus her picture, I tried. I failed, but I tried. Um, but if I were to try to do that again, it might look better. Which is one of the reasons on my portfolio, I have this one thing of past projects. This is the very first website I ever built back in 2001. It's very boxy. It's not very pretty. But then I tried it again a couple years later. All right, we've got some colors, still kind of boxy, but a little bit better. And then the last update was this one was done back in 2017. Big difference. And I purposely kept pictures of these because I can show that I grew over time. Which is why I keep that crappy mountain, because I know I can do better than that. But I keep it because at once upon a time, that's how crappy I was.
I was just thinking while you were saying that, it didn't hit my brain immediately. I think that's what I'm gonna do with my portfolios, like the portfolio projects I'm doing. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to scrap the one that I finally finished, but I don't like it anymore, so I'm just gonna start a new one, and hopefully it looks better, and I can be like, this is what I started with, this is what I've got now. Hopefully
And
it looks
I found these images on the Wayback Machine. So if you have anything that you've ever deployed, Wayback Machine is freaking awesome. Yes, I wanted to go there. Thank you. So I can go back to a website and see what it looked like on February 12th, 2012, when it took a snapshot of it. If it loads, there it goes. Why that says 2001, I don't know, but that's what it was at that time, apparently. Yeah, according to the Wayback Machine. And then I can come here and I can see what it was at a different time. I can look at it at different stages. If there's captures. Not every website will have a capture, but you can also force a capture of a website as well. So if you have something that you really that you plan on improving over time and you want to take an initial snapshot of it, you can actually submit it here. So you can always have it there. That way you can get a picture of it later, type of thing. Never a bad idea either. I have to update this. I'm actually not liking my portfolio at the moment. I need to do a different one. And I really need to update my virtual resume because I have more languages than this now. And I feel like it needs to be updated. I just don't like the way it looks anymore.
You said you made this back in 2001.
No, that was this one.
Oh, the project.
This project specifically, yeah. Yeah. Like this was the same website that I just updated over time. These were past ones that I'm not working on anymore. Like I have my current one.
Oh, okay, nice.
Oh, I have to update this one now. I have a new, it's got a new name. So
Yeah.
link.
Is that yeah?
And that one's considered a past one, but here's my May the 4th one. I have more I have to add to this one. And clearly I need to fix some things. Oh crap, it's 7 o'clock already. Does
Time flies.
yeah. Anybody have any questions for me today before I head out because I have to get to my class?
No, not at the moment.
The next session will be Sunday because I have to work Saturday. So Sunday, same time, same batch. Actually, we'll have a new Zoom link for Sunday because I won't be able to use this Zoom link on Thursday next week. So it'll be a new Zoom link on Sunday. And it will be week 4 where we're gonna actually like do like mock interviews and stuff like that. So come dressed for success, Christopher.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, I'm gonna have to turn my camera off so I can still wear my pajamas.
No, we're just gonna do some mock interviews. I have a bunch of questions that I found that were good for sort of technical interviews that I'm gonna like pretend to hire people with.
Sounds good.
All right, y'all. I will see you guys later or Sunday, whichever comes first.
See you guys later.
All right, guys, take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.